A good day, model railroaders. Hey, look at me, 2 days in a row going live. I'm going to get a job as a DJ real soon. No, just kidding. I'll keep the electrical thing. Too old to change, right? No. But anyway, nice to see everybody popping in. A little bit early. We got 6 watching so far. And I just turned it on. Wow, eh? Wigwag Workshop. Wiggy Waggy. How's it going, bud? Member for 14 months. Awesome. And that's really cool that you get the 14-month thing in there. I do have like 3 or 4 channel members. It's kind of funny because they become a channel member, and then just before the month's up, they're not a member anymore, and then they become a member again. So I don't know why they do that, because when you join, does it not bill you right away? But I get a lot of people that are rejoining every month. Just let it go. It's $1. It's $2. Who knows, right? Nathan DeLay, how are you, buddy? Frank Neer, good evening. Hey, Frank, did you get your ticket yet for the train? Huh? Did you? Awesome possum. I'm going to say you're rusty, but who knows? I'm getting Possum Bayou. And Mason Dixon Railroad. What's up, buddy? Sean Pennywise and Miser Railroad. Why are you at home? You should be over here on screen, becoming famous. Ken Amos Jr., how are you, sir? And Thomas Grassy, good day to you, and thank you very much. No, I haven't. Come on, Frank, get on it. I think there's still 98 tickets last time I checked, but that was a couple hours ago, so you never know. We got Brian Iron Horse Model Railroad popping in saying hi. And who else we got? I got this flipped. YouTube's over here. So if I look over there, it's for the YouTube screen. Ken Amos Jr., how are you? And who else? Wow, now I'm really screwing up with my mouse. Wiggy Waggy said hi. And scroll back. Who else do we got? We got Mr. King Trump 2024. And Chris, the model train aficionado, popping in. He was second in here. And I've got my guest here in the basement already. Looks really happy. So, guys, what I want to start this live stream out with talking about, and that's the YouTube meet and greet. So, if nobody watched the live stream last night, this is it. This is on the Saturday, May 18th. Guys, there's like 98 tickets left for this thing. Last time I looked, it's pretty much a full day event. So we're going to be hopping on the train 9:30 in the morning in Reading, Pennsylvania. Well, it's not even a train. We're taking RDCs, guys. RDCs. Never done that before. I think I've seen a couple, but they're more like track maintenance inspection cars going by. So to ride one, this is going to be pretty cool. And we had Bernard on here from Mini Prince last night, and he said he's been on these exact RDCs, and they are an amazing ride. So that's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited. So everybody saying hi to everybody in the chat. Great. And that's awesome. I do have a special guest in my basement already to talk about this special trip. So like I said, guys, there's 98 tickets left right now that I looked. Last time I looked, if you're coming to the YouTube meet and greet, I'm telling you, snag these tickets up right away, because it's not just for the YouTube, my YouTube meet and greet. It's for the whole railroad. It's on their website. So once people start figuring out and they're checking that website, these tickets are going to go, and they're going to go quick. So I hope everybody grabs a hold of them. What we are doing, guys, is the round trip with shuttle from Reading, Pennsylvania. I can't see the chat too much right now. Life with Roscoe. As I say that, then I see a couple guys. Dave, BNSFN Scale, nice to see you. Life with Roscoe. Just getting on, moving to Hamburg. What did I miss? Buddy, we're probably going to see you, because I know I want to do the museum that's up in Hamburg too on the Saturday, I hope. So, or Sunday, duh. Saturday, we're doing this. So, yeah, it's like, check out the times, guys. Like 9:30 in the morning, we're going to be back at Reading at 5 p.m. plus the shuttle service. So that's another train ride that takes you down to the coal bunker. So it's pretty much a full day of trains, and then to walk around Minersville too. So, but somebody that knows more about this, I'm pretty sure I can bring her up as long as she smiles and says she's ready. There we go. All right. Welcome up, Jamie. How are you?
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Hopefully you can hear me. I'm not really set up the way I'd want to be for live streaming, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, I can hear you fine, so I'm pretty sure everybody else there. Ron Montague, can you hear her? Ron's coming to the meet and greet, so he's going to be on there. He's already got his tickets. I know Boxcar Jerry bought his tickets last night.
Nice.
Mason Dixon Railroad bought his tickets last night. There was quite a few people. I think we went through 30 tickets just as I was live streaming for 30 minutes. So.
Oh wow, fantastic! That's guess that's almost a quarter sold out already then.
Yeah, so you were my inside information for this ride. The whole reason I normally get all my YouTube meet and greet information out by October. And
Wow.
I've been waiting and waiting. And every time that I tried to set something up with the Reading, I don't know what happened. I was starting to get, like I said to you, I was starting to sweat.
Yeah.
Because every time I tried to set something up, it would be like, oh, no, we're busy. It's like, what? We'll try this weekend. And then it would come back as, no, we had a board meeting and we're busy. And now I know why you guys were busy. So
yeah, we got a lot going on as the railroad, and this particular event, there were a lot of moving pieces in putting this one together because it's really 3, almost 4 organizations involved in making it happen. You have the Reading Blue Mountain and Northern Railroad, first and foremost. They're the ones actually operating the trains. Then you have Railway Restoration Project 113. That's a nonprofit group based out of Minersville that actually owns the number 113 steam locomotive. And then you have the owners of the new St. Nicholas coal breaker, which is where the shuttle trips are going to. That's a little bit north of Minersville. And then you do have the, I'm not sure the name of it, but the local community organization in Minersville, because this is all being put on for the first annual Minersville Community Day Festival. So there were, everything did come together. Thankfully, it took a lot longer than any of us would have liked to get it all together. But you effectively had 4 organizations involved in this, with 3 of them directly being involved in running the train. Reading and Northern doing the actual operating, Project 113 providing the steam locomotive, and then the coal breaker folks actually, being generous enough to allow us to go up there because that's somewhere the passenger trains normally don't go. That's the there's a lot of rare mileage on this trip, but I'm going to say that's the from Minersville to the breaker is the extremely rare mileage. Will this be a one-time event? Possibly. I mean, could it happen again? It could. But I think it's something you're not going to see this regularly, if ever again. So this is truly a special opportunity. And what makes this coal breaker, I don't know a whole lot about the breaker itself, but what makes the breaker and this trip special is they mine anthracite coal. We are going to be in the anthracite mining region. Anthracite is a hard form of coal. It burns cleaner than regular bituminous coal. Now, normally we run steam locomotive 113 on a mix of anthracite and bituminous coal. It's usually 2/3 bituminous, 1/3 anthracite. For this event, we are planning to run 113 on 100% anthracite coal mined from that breaker.
I'm just adding some stuff into the chat. There's a couple questions popping up. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I'll keep going. I'll talk more about the event, kind of the big picture, now that it has come together.
Well, I want to ask the big question of when you say rare mileage, like what's that supposed to mean to people? Like I'm a model railroader. I don't go out on passenger trains and excursions and stuff. Well, actually, I do, but there might be a lot of people in here that have no idea what you're talking about. Like rare mileage, like.
So that's a good point you bring up because, and this would be true of any railroad, but Reading and Northern owns 400 miles of track over 9 counties in northeastern Pennsylvania. A good portion of the main line, we have a 120-mile main line from Reading up to Pittston, Pennsylvania. We have passenger trains traveling that main line all the time. So almost any weekend of the year, you can go from Reading to Jim Thorpe. You can go from Pittston to Jim Thorpe. And most of the year, you can ride the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway from Jim Thorpe, 7 miles north to Old Penn Haven and back. So those are quite common. There's not, I wouldn't necessarily use the term common mileage, but those are trips that anybody can buy a ticket for anytime. Um, and that only covers, a little bit of over a quarter of the trackage that Reading and Northern owns. So the rest of the tracks, basically, it would be considered rare mileage because passenger trains rarely go there. Now, the line between this trip will start on the main line at Reading. It'll go north to Port Clinton. It will veer off the main line, going to Schuylkill Haven, and then it'll have another junction up to Minersville. It becomes progressively rarer because we don't run passenger trains there often. Now, I would say between Port Clinton and Schuylkill Haven, I wouldn't necessarily call it rare mileage. We do have a number of trips there throughout the year, but it's still not something that you can buy a ticket for any day of the week. Once you branch off north of Schuylkill Haven into the Cressona Yard and then north to Minersville, that starts to get to be pretty rare. We maybe only run 113 a day or a day or two a year, maybe a weekend or two. So not a lot of people are getting to ride there. And in terms of the portion from Minersville to the Coal Breaker, we don't run passenger there, period. The only trip I know, there was an RDC charter last year that they were coming to Minersville, and they did a quick out to the breaker and back to Minersville. Now, that was a charter trip. That's the only other passenger train that I know of that has gone there. So it's an exceptionally rare opportunity. I've also been told that for this event, now usually Reading and Northern is extremely generous towards rail fans in terms of giving us access to stand trackside and film. However, and this is more, and I've got my cat. You got to put up with the cats interrupting. This is Danny trying to photobomb us here. She's one of my older cats.
Dogs or cats are all welcome.
I've been out of the house all day. They're like, "Oh, you're home, but you're not paying attention to us." What I've been told for this event, and it has more to do with the breaker property more so than Reading and Northern. Once 113 leaves Minersville and crosses Sunbury Street going north, there will be no public access. So unfortunately, rail fans are not even going to be able to rail fan this other than in the immediate vicinity of the Minersville station. So really being on board this train, which is what they're calling the shuttle trips,
Yeah.
is truly going to be the only way to access that portion of track going up to the Coal Breaker.
Well, it seems like a really long train trip too. Like if you're coming from Reading and into Minersville, it's an hour and a half.
Correct.
And then you got the shuttle service, which is another 90 minutes, wasn't it?
That's about 45-minute round trip from what I understand. And then you have, another hour and a half back
Right.
to
So
Reading.
that's a lot of train riding
Yeah,
just to do. And like you said, on rare mileage, rare tracks to be on, you're going to see a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't see when they're doing, like you said, the Jim Thorpe and the railroad tour and stuff like that, or the bike tour trains.
correct. And interestingly, even though some of the portions of this trip people do get to see throughout the year, they don't usually get to see all of those segments in their entirety. And what I mean by that, going from Reading directly to Minersville is extremely rare. I've literally only seen it done with a handful of charter trips over the years. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, this is the first time that Reading and Northern themselves have sold a public trip from Reading to Minersville and back.
So when we say like sold tickets and stuff, like how many tickets are there for this?
I believe it probably started at 140, if I had to guess. That would be the capacity of 2 RDCs.
Now, what's an RDC?
So an RDC is a relatively rare piece of railroad equipment. It happens to be one of my personal favorites. I mean, if you watch my channel, you already know that. It stands for a rail diesel car. And these are self-propelled passenger coaches built by the Budd Car Company in Philadelphia. They were primarily built in the 1950s. And they were built for some of the more rural routes or the less traveled routes because the advantage of them, they don't need a locomotive. They move under their own power. They're also what's considered a diesel direct drive. So you have the trucks at each end, and you actually have two 300 horsepower motors built by Detroit Diesel. There's one diesel for each truck, and there's actually a drive shaft that connects that diesel. So it's not a diesel electric like your typical freight locomotive or F unit would be. And it actually, it looks, or I should say it sounds and rides more like a charter bus. It really is like a charter bus on rails. It's a really unique experience. It sounds different than a typical, diesel. It rides unbelievably smooth. They have very good suspension on these. They have the anti-sway bars. The seats are nicely padded, fairly wide, particularly given that these were built in the 1950s. You don't usually think of spaciousness with that era. And even though these were primarily commuter cars, they really ride, I think, significantly nicer than your typical passenger coach. And there's also something very unique about the ones that Reading and Northern owns. There's a number of these still in operation. There's actually a very good number of RDCs preserved. However, Reading and Northerns are the only ones that we know of that actually have opening windows.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Now, the cars are heated, they are air conditioned. From what I've been told, the reason opening windows were put into Reading and Northerns way back when they got them, the air conditioning systems weren't working. They work now. I've ridden them, I can attest to that. But you can imagine being in a closed up car in the summer if there's no air conditioning. That would have not been fun for anybody. But I think it's an extra nice dimension to the RDCs that we have, because particularly a lot of us being photographers, videographers, sure, you can film from a closed window, but a lot of times your camera is going to focus on the little bit of grime on the window or the reflection. And it's just nice to open them up and get some fresh air. I should also add that one of the RDCs, now I can't vouch for which ones they're going to have on the train that day, but one of the ones that we own is what we call a refreshment car. So it's half coach, and then the other half is actually a snack bar where we'll sell soda, water, coffee, chips, muffins, cookies, that sort of thing.
Can I get a beer?
No beer.
Oh, come on.
No beer, no alcohol, sorry. But I don't know which ones they have. Right now we have 3 operating ones. We're very close to having a 4th put into passenger service. What I don't know is whether that 4th one will come online for this trip. Because typically these are going to do your weekend run from Reading to Jim Thorpe and back.
Yeah.
So if they're going to use the ones that are typically used on that route for the trip on the 18th, excuse me, that means that they would have to then substitute a diesel and coaches on the Reading to Jim Thorpe trip, which is entirely possible. I mean, if I had to guess, that is probably what is happening, but I don't know that 100%. So it could be, this trip is going to be 2 RDCs, but which 2, I don't know yet.
Yeah. So Nathan's asking, does the train ever stop at Schuylkill Haven, or is it just for this event?
Yeah, so this is a little bit unique. We are going to stop at Port Clinton and Schuylkill Haven to pick up passengers and then drop them off on the way home. The only other time that I know that these RDCs stop in Schuylkill Haven is when we run them. We move the RDCs to Pottsville for the fall foliage trips to Jim Thorpe. And those trips do stop in Schuylkill Haven and they stop in Port Clinton. Typically, though, you're not going to see a lot of passenger trains actually stop there. So this is also unique in that regard that I know you live near there, Nathan. This will be a great opportunity if you're not riding. that you'll be able to film us coming and going, or, maybe if you decide to come with us, you could get on board right there. Yeah, Jennifer, she really is. She's a very affectionate cat, and I'm talking, so she thinks it must be to her, right?
Well, of course, right? What do you mean you're doing a live stream? No, it's my turn, not the cameras. Come on. So you're working for the railroad. You like, how did you come about doing that? Like,
Believe it or not, through chasing them with a video camera for YouTube for a number of years.
I know part of your story, so
Yeah, I had started. I mean, I've been around the railroad since about 2005 when I took my first ride there. I always enjoyed the Lehigh Gorge train. It was something I would just go up every couple of years, go to Jim Thorpe, take a ride. I did the bike train with them in 2015. That's when I started really paying more attention to the fact that they had other things going on besides just the Gorge train. Um, Started filming them for YouTube in 2019, which was the year I more or less started my channel in earnest. And then, when we had our, lovely world events in 2020, I had a job in downtown Allentown at the time. I was working as an architectural drafter, and I got sent to work from home like, most of us white collar folks. And needless to say, you start going stir crazy, A, being at home,
yeah.
B, dealing with the world events. So my sanity saver became going, out on the different rail trails in the area, most of which still parallel an active railroad. Those of you who know the Lehigh Gorge train know that the DNL bike trail runs on the roadbed of the former CNJ Railroad. The Gorge train runs on the former Lehigh Valley Railroad, and they parallel each other throughout the entirety, or most of Lehigh Gorge, I should say. At one point, they do go to opposite sides of the river. So I found myself out on that trail, biking, walking, filming the train, putting it on YouTube. And it kind of became the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it. They brought 425 back in late summer 2020, August 2020. I got pretty avid about chasing. In 2022, they got 2102 running again. I chased a lot of the test runs, a lot of the Iron Horse Rambles, and needless to say, the people at the railroad started watching what I was doing. They'd start saying hi. When I was out and about, I started getting to know some of them. In 2021, I left my job in Allentown to become a full-time freelancer. If any of you know anything about freelancing, it's like riding a roller coaster. You have some great months and you have some terrible months and everything in between. And I knew I wanted to take on a part-time job to just smooth out some of that unevenness. And by that point, I'd gotten to know everybody at the railroad so well that it was to me, it was a no-brainer. I absolutely wanted to work there. And I was thrilled when I applied and found out that they were equally happy to have me working there. So it's been really a wonderful relationship. I've been working on the trains, working in the ticket booth. I've been doing videos for their YouTube channel. I've been doing, I've started doing graphic design for them. Who knows where it's all leading, but it's been a wonderful relationship with the railroad, and they've been very generous. And I mean, if you've seen some of my videos, they've been very generous in giving me access to things that, a lot of folks wouldn't have access to.
Yeah, you're gonna become my new best friend when I'm there. So
Awesome. I hope so.
So a couple other questions. Obviously, I think I know the answer to this one, but some people are saying, can you bring a cooler on board and your own lunch and stuff?
Yes.
It's a 4-hour layover. Yeah, so it's a 4-hour layover. If you want to carry a cooler around and stuff like that, by all means, go for it.
Yeah, a couple things I can elaborate on that. We allow food, we allow drink, just no alcohol, no cigarettes, no vaping. That's literally the only restriction. Food, drink is fine. We also, when we're in the station, we lock our trains. So anything you decide you want to leave on board that train is secure. So say it's May in Pennsylvania. It could start out 30 degrees and get to 90 midday or anything in between. Who knows? Say you have a jacket in the morning or a cooler packed for later, you can leave that on board the train. The only thing is you don't have access to that train until we get on board to go back to Reading. But yeah, anything food and drink, absolutely bring on board. If we have the refreshment car, which is RDC 9166 on, you'll be able to buy snacks. You'll be able to buy like water, soda, coffee. However, one thing to know on our trains, all sales are cash only. And that's not because we're being old school. It's just that a lot of the territory we go through, there's not a cell signal.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, especially in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. You get that a lot. So
Yeah, we would. I mean, if you buy stuff, when we do have the souvenir table at Jim Thorpe Station, we do take credit cards there. We do take credit cards for the tickets. It's just logistically, we're in too many dead zones on the train to be able to process credit or debit transactions, and that's really the only reason for it.
So it sounds like we got a couple hours to kill in Minersville. What's to do in there?
There's going to be plenty to do.
Please do tell.
Yeah, so for starters, obviously, you're going to have the shuttle trips, and I'm reading Nathan's comment here about loads of announcements with fun facts. So yes, indeed, we will have a narrator on board the shuttle trips, and I got to imagine also on the RDCs. Usually Josh, who's our passenger manager, I know you've been dealing with him, Sparky. Yeah. He usually does the narration out of Reading. I actually don't know if he's going to be on this train or if he's going to be on the Jim Thorpe train. But the shuttle trips most definitely will have narration. The narration will be about the steam locomotive 113 that's pulling us. It'll be about Minersville, and it'll be about the coal breaker. Now, when you're in Minersville itself for the community day, there's going to be street vendors. We have a lot of food trucks lined up. The wonderful thing about Minersville, it's a very walkable small town, which is really true of a lot of the anthracite region, the little towns there. Now, when I went on a charter trip, I can't vouch for what will or won't be open this day, but there's a lot of little things in town. Like there was the Historical Society. There's the fire company that actually has an old steam fire truck. A lot of these little places were open just for our RDC charter trip 2 years ago. And I got to imagine for Minersville Community Day, because this is going to be, Community Day itself is going to be not just for us or people who are coming in on the train, but really anybody from the town or the region who wants to come down to the main street, walk around, see the vendors, get a bite to eat, learn something about the town. I don't have the full list yet of everybody who's going to be there, but it's going to be your typical small town street fair.
Well, that's good, because I'd hate to get off the train and be bored.
No, that won't happen. And I mean, you'll also, even like I said, you're not going to be allowed to rail fan on coal breaker property, but I'm sure all of us being rail fans, you'll want to see at least one or two ins and outs of 113. You'll be able to get a bite to eat and, hopefully walk around the town. And, there's a lot of neat little places. I mean, just the Historical Society alone. I remember I went there kind of towards the tail end of our stop during the charter run. Now, we were only in town for, I think, an hour and a half or 2 hours. So on that trip, it was kind of rushed. We'll have a lot more time on this trip. But I got to the Historical Society, and it's a small building, but there's a lot to see. It's kind of like a mini museum. Doesn't cost anything to walk in the door. Admission nice. Completely free. And the volunteers who staff that, I highly recommend it. They are pretty much lifelong Minersville residents. They are very passionate about the town's history. They could tell you anything about any of the artifacts that are on display. Very passionate, knowledgeable group of people. And I think, you'll find that throughout the town, that any of these little things that they have set up to go to, I mean, this is the real deal. This is the true, coal country of Pennsylvania. And there's just a lot of people with a lot of incredible information and stories to share.
Sounds like we might need more time.
A lot of times that's what happens. I know that had been my first trip to the town, and I had had the same thing. I'm like, what am I going to do when I was there? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I need a lot more time
Yeah.
than I'm given. So, a lot of neat things. I got to imagine the way we handle a lot of these types of trips is it'll be part of the announcements when we get close to Minersville. And I seem to recall on that charter trip, they had handed us a walking map with points of interest noted. So you'll have an idea. You'll probably get a handout on the train. In fact, that's something I can even ask them if they're planning to do. If they're not planning to do it, I could probably encourage them or even help them to do it. And the other thing, I'm not sure, I think it was noted in the page you pulled up, Sparky, but if you purchase the tickets for the round trip and the shuttle, they will actually assign you a time for the
Yeah.
shuttle. I believe we'll be able to ride the 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 2 o'clock shuttles, if I remember correctly. You will be assigned a time. Yeah, there you go. While you're on board and in transit, the conductor will assign you a time. That's actually how they handle it. If you ever do the Reading to Pottsville trip, they do the same thing with the Yangling Brewery. They assign the times while you're on the train. And I remember on that one, they let you have a say, do you want to go early, midday, late? And they try to accommodate everybody, but it does help spread it out because, as Sparky's noted too, even though this is a very rare and interesting and sort of feels exclusive event, these tickets are on sale to the general public. Anybody could buy these.
Yeah.
So they're going to assign the times, like I said, just as a means of spreading the crowd out so that, not everybody's trying to get on the same shuttle at once.
There is 96 tickets available still.
Okay.
So
They'll probably start going quick. I mean, we just put word out about this, as you know, Sparky, yesterday. So
yeah. Like I said, I really appreciate that. You told me first thing in the morning, and it was like,
Yep.
okay, I'll be live streaming this one.
Yeah, I wish I could have been on last night. We had our semi-annual passenger department meeting in Nesquehoning, so that's a fun night because that was like a reunion with a lot of people that I haven't seen over the winter when we slow down.
So I think one of the big questions I got is like, I'm kind of a fan of trestles, and the higher the better. So from Reading all the way there with like the extra train and all that, the shuttle,
Yeah.
how many trestles would there be, or is there any?
So the main one you're going to go over, it's not really a trestle per se, but it's a very unique bridge. And if you could even call it up on Google Images, it's called Peacock's Lock Viaduct. It's just north of Reading. You come to it very early in the trip. The trip starts at Reading Outer Station. You go through the North Reading Yard. That's one of our larger freight yards. And then almost immediately after exiting the yard, you go over this. It's basically a true viaduct. But it's actually, they call it, I think it's a pierced arch spandrel. It's a beautiful stone bridge. It's stone arches, but then where you typically have, how the arches come and then you have stone in the middle,
Yep.
there's actually like a hole in the middle. It's a very unusual looking bridge. So we'll be going over that. There's a lot of little bridges along the way. You'll actually be going under two truss bridges they were former Pennsylvania Railroad bridges. They're now a rail trail. They're the John Bartram Trail. You'll go go under one of them between Hamburg and Port Clinton, and then you'll go under the second one out in Auburn, which is about halfway between Port Clinton and Schuylkill Haven. This trip does not go over Hometown High Bridge, which is our biggest and best. That is on the Reading to Jim Thorpe route. On our main line, we now have Juliet coming into the picture here.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's getting in on it. But yeah, the Peacock's Lock Viaduct will be the main one that we go over. And it really is some beautiful views of the Schuylkill River as we cross that.
And on the other side of that page, of course, what about tunnels then?
We will not be going through any of our tunnels on this trip. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total, I believe, on the railroad. I've been through all but one. Unfortunately, none of them are on this trip.
Oh well.
Yeah. Can't have it all, but
Yeah, no, that's for
um,
sure. So,
yeah, now this one will not have any tunnels, but it's some very beautiful scenery. I mean, you got to, what's really neat about the main line, particularly the southern half of the main line, which would be the Reading to Jim Thorpe and even, the branch routes out to Schuylkill Haven, you get a really good variety of scenery. When we leave Reading, once we cross the Schuylkill River, you're going to see a lot of farmland, just, very traditional kind of farmland, big open spaces. When we get into our headquarters at Port Clinton, it's actually through a gap in Blue Mountain. And the Appalachian Trail, a lot of people don't know this, the Appalachian Trail actually crosses our rail yard just north of Port Clinton. In fact, right before we veer off at the junction, the Appalachian Trail actually crosses our railroad. Um, and then you'll go between there and Schuylkill Haven. There's a lot of, yeah, I don't know the correct maybe geographical term for it, but it's almost, it's not marshland, but there's a lot of ponds. There's the little Schuylkill River, but there's just sort of a lot of ponds, almost wetlands.
mhm.
And then you start to climb more. This doesn't really climb as much into the mountains as some of the other routes, but once you get to Schuylkill Haven and north, you start to get into some industry again. You start to get into the anthracite mining region. You go through Westwood Junction, which used to actually be a Y. Now it's just a simple junction. You'll go through, there is a rock cut. It's not quite as spectacular as the rock cut in Lehigh Gorge State Park, but you do go through what's called the Marlin Rock Cut, just south of Minersville. So it's a nice variety of terrain, a lot of water, a lot of farmlands. It's really, really beautiful. And by May, you'll be starting to get the leaves on the trees. Everything will be looking pretty green again, but not quite as like overdone as it will be, say, in the midsummer. So I think you'll still have some good views of the water.
Yeah, and if lots of people get their tickets, you're going to have lots of other model railroaders to talk to too. So
Definitely.
you're not going to be bored. That's for
No,
sure.
I will not be. I will not. Now, I should clarify. Sadly, I'm not going to be on the Reading to Minersville train with you, but I will be in Minersville all day that day.
Okay, well,
Um,
I'm sure a few of us will look for you and thank you quite a bit for all the information you're giving
yeah,
us for
no
sure. So,
problem. And I will certainly, when you guys get to Minersville, I'm going to make a point, of seeing everybody. It's quite possible. Now they've said I could do it. We'll see where it fits into the day. I might be doing a little bit of coal shoveling to help this
oh,
trip along. Wouldn't be shoveling directly into the firebox. I'd be doing what they call pushing the pile, which is where you're in the tender and you're, keeping the coal towards the front of the tender so that the firemen can get it into the firebox.
you're
But
saying
that's kind of
118. You're saying 118 doesn't run quite a bit?
113.
Oh, 113, sorry.
Yeah, typically she'll only run a couple times a year, if even that. We typically use 113 for basically Santa Claus trips and Easter Bunny trips. We do fire her up a couple times a year for photo charters. Um, but what's difficult about it is Project 113 doesn't really own any track. They actually rent the Minersville station from Reading and Northern Railroad. They rent the little siding where we keep 113 and we keep the one. It's not in service, but we do have one passenger coach that will not be on the train. But we really just have that one siding, and there is at least a couple times a week there is a coal train that comes to and from the breakers. So there's not
Wow.
really anywhere 113 can go outside of these special events. And what happens basically, we have Reading and Northern crew run 113. So the volunteers of Project 113 fire the engine, but we'll actually have a Reading and Northern engineer operating the engine.
So this coal bunker, what is that?
So it's a coal breaker.
Breaker. I'm doing
And
good.
yeah, I'm gonna be learning about it along with you guys now. That basically what it does is it takes, at the simplest terms, takes the big chunks of coal and breaks it down to smaller chunks of coal. And there's not a standard size for a chunk of coal. When you buy coal, you can get everything from. In fact, you'll see this at the the museum in Hamburg, when you go on Sunday, they have a display where you have little pea-sized coal or bigger coal or coal dust or bigger chunks. Um, when you decide to buy coal, whether it be for a home furnace or a steam locomotive or some other use, you can buy different sizes. And what the breaker does is it takes the big mine chunks of
Yeah.
coal and breaks it down to the sizes that'll actually be sold. Now, from what I understand of the coal region, and this is, I'm very interested in the coal region. I've been trying to learn along with everybody else here because it's not where I grew up, so I'm still learning about it. Uh, these kind of breakers were actually very, very common, and a lot of them have since been torn down.
Hmm.
There is still a lot of anthracite mining, but nowhere near on the scale that it was, decades ago. So these breakers are getting to be a little bit rare. So getting to go see one is actually pretty special. So I'm going to be learning, a little bit more about it with you guys, but it basically, it's just how they break the bigger coal down to the little coal.
That's cool. So Nathan wants to know if he can blow the whistle on the 113.
On a trip like this, probably not. When we run 113, for the Easter and Santa trips, they try to limit it because there are, the station is right next to a residential neighborhood, but they'll usually let, a handful of people go ahead and do it, but not to an excessive amount and not past a certain hour. But this particular event, they are running these shuttle trips every hour on the hour. Even though the shuttle trip itself doesn't last the full hour, you have to have time to board the train and detrain the passengers. So there's not going to be a lot of time in between the trips. So unfortunately, Nathan, I'm going to say probably not. Never hurts to ask, though. If I asked one time and the answer was no, and then another time the answer was yeah. So, never hurts to ask, but I'm just going to say on this event, probably not.
Yeah, that's true. That's one thing. One piece of advice my mom used to give me all the time is it never hurts to ask if the worst thing that can happen is they say no.
That's correct. And if you don't ask, then the answer is no anyway. So
Exactly. So
you have everything to gain, nothing to lose. They're not going to make you. I promise they're not going to make you walk back to Reading for asking.
well, there's a question. What if you miss the train?
You're walking back to Reading.
I guess my phone will really be lighting up. Can you come back and get me?
then they'll be like, hey, Jamie, after you shut that thing down for the night, can you give me a ride?
Yeah.
It'd be a very expensive Uber ride. In fact, some of our trips, we actually put that in the narration because we want to make sure everybody's back on the train. If you know anything about Reading and Northern, we run on time. It's very, very rare we're delayed. And we'll tell you in the narration, you're going to be waving to us as we pull out of the station, and it's a long walk back or an expensive Uber ride.
Mini Prince wants to know if he's late.
Yeah, you're late, Mini Prince.
Yeah,
take an Uber.
Just a little late
station.
though, right?
just a little.
Yeah.
We'll slow down so you can run and catch up with us.
Yeah, no doubt. So, and Nathan's also asking if you've seen the soda can train that he gave to Andy.
I have not, but I'll have to look for it next time I'm there.
He says it's in Port Clinton.
So. It's in Port Clinton. Okay, I haven't seen that, but I'll look for it next time I'm there.
Yeah. So a couple more questions I got for you.
Sure.
What's the best thing about working for the railroad?
Oh my God, everything.
No, just best. Come on, one.
I got to be honest. Everybody thinks I'm going to say it's the trains, and it's actually not. It's actually the people, because I meet an incredible number of people from every walk of life. I mean, talking in this circle here, obviously we're pretty hardcore rail fans, model railroaders. Believe it or not, that's the minority of the people that I meet on a daily basis. For example, when I work out at Jim Thorpe, and I never knew this until I worked there, it's a very international crowd. I always thought, this is locals coming to ride the local train, right? Well, you get some of them, but you get people from all over the U.S., you get people from all over the world. I've had, you wouldn't believe how many family reunions have come, and as part of their family reunion week or weekend, they take a ride on the train together. Because I'll ask people, hey, where are you from? You might have 6 people sitting together, and they're from 3 or 4 different places, and they all came to meet in the area. I even had a marriage proposal in the caboose one day when I was car host.
Oh, really cool.
Every day is different. You never know who you're going to meet. But you just really get to see an amazing slice of people that you would just never meet in day-to-day life. And as much as I enjoy the trains and enjoy the scenery and enjoy my coworkers, I really enjoy just, meeting the people who come to ride the train. In fact, somebody had ridden with me, and just literally just in February, we got to know each other. She ended up applying for a job as car host, and I found out last night she got hired. It's just crazy the connections you'll make with people, and then the opportunity. You guys are all coming to what is, hands down my favorite railroad, and that was true even before they hired me.
Yep.
And I've met some of you before. I'm going to get to meet some of you for the first time, and
Oh, you've been to one. Have you been to one or two of my meet and greets?
Just the one. I went to the one in Strasburg 2 years ago, the day that we did the shop tour.
Yep. And then JP Videos, he was part of that one too. So I'm hoping he pops in on this one too. He likes to kind of photobomb my life or my meet and greets. He doesn't get involved with them, but he stands on the outside and likes doing. It's always good to hang out with JP too. So
I have to see him, and then we got RJ and Randy and Nick. I think you met all of them at some point. Maybe not Randy. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I've met Randy too.
You met Randy, okay. Yep. Yeah, hopefully I'll have to see. I haven't really had a chance yet since the news broke to talk to any of them about it, but I'll have to see if those guys are interested in coming.
Even if you know Rick Surusky?
I've heard the name. I don't know him.
I don't even know who it is. So
okay, I've heard the name, but I can't really conjure up anything more than that.
Yeah, it was Mini Prince asking that one just out of the blue. Throws a name out there. So.
Yeah.
So why
asking will Andy be part of this? You never know where he turns up. You never know. Probably not, but oh, wait a second. Nick Saruski. Wait a second. Now that I see it in the comments, that's not the name of one of our engineers, is it? Because we do have a Nick who's an engineer.
It might be because he says it was the inspiration for his customers.
That is probably, we have a freight engineer right now who is qualifying on passenger. I'm pretty sure that's him. It wasn't until I saw it in writing. I'm a very visual person, more so than audio. I think that's one of our engineers, actually.
Yeah, he says he's a conductor, so.
Nathan, yes, we did meet. In fact, we met in Strasburg at Sparky's meet and greet 2 years ago.
Very cool. They seem to be popular. Yeah. So I keep telling everybody else, hey, you can do your own meet and greet. Come on. But everybody comes back and says, yeah, but it's not Sparky's meet and greet. So. I kind of get it. I do it the third weekend of May. It's the same every year. So I know I do have at least 3 people that plan their holidays from work on that date. So
yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, as soon as they're done the meet and greet, they get to work and they're like, yep, booking my holidays for next year. So.
Well, and I'll tell you what too, because I haven't yet made plans for that Sunday. If you guys are going to the Reading Museum on Sunday, I'll join you for that. I've only been to that museum one time. I definitely want to get back. Can you take it all in one trip? Yeah, sure you can. However, it's a really, really neat museum. It's another place where the people who run it, very passionate, very, very knowledgeable group of people there. In fact, what I would recommend to you, when we had gone, I'm trying to think who we was. It was me, Nick, Randy, JP, RJ. It wasn't a meetup per se. It was just we all decided we were going to go and went. we actually got one of the volunteers on the staff to walk us through the rail yard. Now you're free to walk around. The nice thing is you're free to walk around that the rail yard at Hamburg, at the museum, however you'd like. But you can get a volunteer who will actually go out there and stop by pretty much every single locomotive and piece of passenger equipment and tell you about it, tell you
Yeah,
its
that's what we had at
history.
Strasbourg, and we had, I think it was a couple volunteers that would catch on to, like, we had groups, and
Yeah,
they go outside with us and start talking about the stuff, and it makes it a lot better to know the
it
history of
does.
stuff and where it was, what it used to do, and why it's there
Yeah.
now. So
It gives it a lot more meaning, and a lot of the stuff at the Reading Museum is either being restored or it's going to be restored. And that's also something else that you'd never know, even if you Googled everything about that locomotive, you'd never know its current state. I was actually surprised in talking to that volunteer to learn how many of the units actually were capable of still running. Now, obviously, nothing was fired up and running when we were there, but a lot of the stuff is capable of running, and I really found that interesting. In fact, they have two RDCs. Reading, I think it's 9162, and I forget the other number, but I've been told both of those are capable of running. Again, they just have nowhere to run them.
you go, yeah.
And I had even specifically asked, this was even before I worked for Reading and Northern. I had said, hey, is there any chance they ever could run on Reading and Northern track? Because that was the original. When Reading and Northern started as Blue Mountain and Reading, they ran from Temple to Hamburg on that same line that goes into the museum. And, so the volunteers said, yeah, in theory, it's possible. Of course, you have the issues with insurance and the cost, and can you sell enough tickets to cover it, that sort of thing. I wouldn't say there's any immediate plans to do it. There's nothing that I know of being talked about to do it, but could it theoretically be done? Yes, it could. And they do have equipment that runs that would be, possible.
So you do have a fan in the chat there, and they were asking if you were married.
I am happily single.
I am not even going to join this conversation. I'm sure you know life with Roscoe, so
I do. Oh God,
yeah.
Hi, Martin.
Yeah, so
he's probably enjoying seeing my cats, if anything.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so help me sell some tickets for this thing. Why should people join it?
Sure. Because for one, it's fun. It's fun, but it's also something that you're not going to get to do. You're not going to be able to wake up any weekend and say, hey, I feel like doing this. This is a lot of different things coming together. This is a fairly rare mileage trip from Reading to Minersville on the RDCs, which is a fairly rare piece of rail equipment. So you're getting a unique ride just going from Reading to Minersville. Minersville itself is as authentic as it gets with a true coal town. This is not, a theme park that's kind of made to recreate something. This is the real deal. The people who live there, they've worked the coal mines. Some of them still work the coal mines. And then the opportunity, you're riding behind literally the only remaining operating CNJ, Central Railroad of New Jersey. 113 is the only operating steam locomotive left from that railroad. There is another one still out there, but it doesn't operate. You're also going to be running behind 113, running on pure anthracite. It's very rare that you see a steam locomotive operating on pure anthracite. That alone is a treat. And going to this breaker is just rarer than rarer. I mean, you're getting a whole day's worth of unusual activities, and this is all wrapped inside, a larger street and community festival going on in Minersville. There's just so many cool things about it, and even just all the camaraderie of a lot of us know each other. A lot of us, like myself, I don't know all of you, but I always love meeting people from the railroad community, the YouTube community. And, I hope everybody else enjoys the community aspect of that as much as I do.
Yeah, I always look forward to my meet and greets. There's like obviously there's a few of the usual faces that show up, and even when I went to Colorado, there was a couple that showed up. A good handful anyway that showed up that were at every one of my meet and greets so far. So
Nice.
yeah, so
Nice.
it's always great getting back, but there's always a handful of new people that show up too. So
Oh, that's fantastic.
Cat's back.
Hey,
So
Martin Juliet's single. Well, actually, she's got her Romeo, but we won't get too into the cat soap opera. Romeo has another love of his life these days, and
said
but
cat
it's
barely
not
heart.
her. that's that's Mel. Mel was
Uh,
one of my pandemic adoptions. Mel's very much a loner. Mel's happily single too.
and Nathan DeLay, it's called YouTube famous, baby. uh,
That is
I just love
correct.
the community itself and the people in it, and just like what you say that you like the job for, you love the job
Yeah,
for the people,
yeah,
and it is. It's always
absolutely.
it's completely different across the board. Like everybody's different, right? So
Absolutely. I mean, you never know who, everybody has a story to tell, and like I find, this would work equally well at a meet and greet as it does when I'm working on the train. I mean, the best icebreaker if you're trying to, just talk to someone on the train, I just ask them, "Where are you from?" And that alone, people love to talk about, where they're from, why they're in the area. You ask somebody, Minersville, hey, did you grow up around here? Do you work in the mines? Does your family work in the mines? They love to talk about that kind of stuff.
is this
And
actually an active mine?
there are, yeah, the news. I don't know exactly where the mine is. We're not going to the mine, but there are
Yeah.
mines in the area. In fact, when I was up in Minersville the Friday before our Easter Bunny trains, or not our Easter Bunny trains, our Santa trains last season, we actually had a pretty long coal train that had just come from the breaker, pulling coal down to Reading to be shipped out of network. Came right through the Minersville station while we were firing 113 up. Now, I wish they'd come a half hour later or even an hour later because our whistle, we didn't quite have the steam pressure to blow the whistle out of when they went by. We were hoping we did. We didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is actively mined. We have freight trains several days a week going up there to collect the coal. The coal goes down to Reading, and then I don't know if you've ever watched Virtual Railfan, and you'll see a Reading and Northern Coal Hopper. I mean, that's one of several locations that we actually bring the coal from. There are others up in the region, but there's a pretty good chance that if you see a coal hopper on Virtual Railfan traveling the country, there's, probably a 30-40% chance it came from the breaker that we're going to visit.
So in the Reading area, lots of rail fanning to do.
Yes, there is. So, and it's not just Reading and Northern. The Norfolk Southern Main Line runs right through Reading. It's an east-west main line. You've probably seen Sparky. We rail fan a lot out in Macungie, which is just west of Allentown. And then that runs, let's see when it leaves. I don't know Norfolk Southern as well as I do, excuse me, Reading and Northern. But that line runs east west. It goes out to the Allentown yard to the east, and to the west, it goes out to Harrisburg. And if you keep going, you'll go through Horseshoe Curve. Eventually, you'll end up out in Pittsburgh.
Very cool. So there's going to be tons for everybody to do both days. The actual event that I'm going to do this year is May 18th and the 19th. So the Saturday and the Sunday. I will be there on the Friday. Going to do the Jim Thorpe ride. I
Okay.
think the last one's at 3:00.
3:00, correct.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump on that one and take that just for a nice casual howdy doody type ride and come back. Then this full day event for May 18th, and then the 19th, like I said, the museum in Hamburg. That's going to be a big part of that. Trying to fit in Nathan DeLay's house
Okay.
because I know he wants to show off his layout and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get that open. Another thing, if I get there early enough on Friday, the Conrail Museum's an hour from Hamburg, correct?
It's, whew. I have that bookmarked somewhere. I haven't been there yet, but it's definitely reachable from Reading and Hamburg.
Yeah. So
It's west of there. I want to say it's closer than Gettysburg, but in that general direction, if I remember correctly.
yeah, I'd
Somewhere
have to
out
look
near
it up again.
Williams, is it out near Williams Grove, maybe? I'd have to look it up again. I know I'd looked that up when they opened. I wasn't able to go for opening day, but that is somewhere I'd like to get.
All right, so everybody in the chat, I want to know: are you guys coming to this, and do you got your tickets yet? We've put it up in the chat a couple times. The link to get the tickets. I am staying at Reading, Pennsylvania. So we're going to start from there, do the round trip train plus the shuttle service, $50 ticket per person. Gets you back there at 5 o'clock. And then, of course, we got to find some place to eat after that.
Yep.
Probably some rail fanning. Schuylkill River Valley says he's got his tickets. Chris, yes, he's coming. Frank Neer says unknown. Frank, you made it all the way to Colorado. You can't go an hour and a half from your house. Not to call you out, but Ken Amos Jr. tickets in the same hotel as you, Sparky. Ron, yes, sir, he's going. Georgia Sunbelt. He'll see you there 17th and 18th. Got to leave on the 19th to catch a flight. So tons of people already get their tickets and stuff like that. I know that. So like I said, it was 30 tickets we went through last night, just in the half hour I was live streaming. So
yeah.
If anybody does miss the link or anything, check out yesterday's live stream. It is there. Or if somebody wants to throw it back up in the chat, you can do that. DB Tech, where are good places to eat in Reading or nearby for Jamie?
You know who I'm going to ask? I'm actually going to ask Rich Bernhardt. He's he's the guy who most frequently operates the RDCs. He knows all the good places to eat. Unfortunately, I'm a little uncreative because when I go to Reading, I'm usually rail fanning or working, so I'm just hitting up Sheets or Wawa.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of good places, so that's something I'll look into and get back to you about. In Jim Thorpe, now I can tell you some good places to eat in Jim Thorpe. My favorite is right again. This may be something you want to plan on Friday night because you'll be doing the 3 o'clock ride. You'll depart Jim Thorpe at 3. You'll get back at 4:10. Right across the train station is Molly McGuire's. They're an Irish restaurant, pub. They have a deck on the side. It used to be a diner that was torn down many years. Actually, it wasn't torn down. It was relocated. It still exists. I think it's in Ohio. But they have an outdoor deck, which is neat. You could get off the train, go there, start eating, and you can watch the train pull back to the yard at the end of the day. There's the Inn at Jim Thorpe has the Broadway Grill, which is really good. There's an ice cream place just south of the train station. The wonderful thing about Jim Thorpe, it's all walkable. A lot of these little towns, you park and you walk. I know there are other places in Jim Thorpe. Those happen to be my two favorite. I absolutely love Molly McGuire's. I go there every chance I get. I'll look into places for Reading, though. I know our engineer, Rich. He knows all the good spots. So that shouldn't be too hard to figure out. There is a good diner. Literally, I've eaten at it a couple of times. I think it's just called the Route 61 Diner. It's literally just a block south. You can see it from our train station. I mean, it's maybe, it's not high end or anything, but, I happen to be a big fan of diners. So to me, you can never go wrong with a good diner, and that is a good one.
Yeah, it's kind of like you think of Mel's Diner type thing with Flo and all them, right?
Yeah, it's very much like that. It happens to be a bigger one, so there's plenty of room. If you come in with 30 or 40 people, they're not going to freak out. So they actually have the seating capacity to do that.
Yeah, and we did that in Colorado. We walked in with about 45 people.
Nice. Do you have a count? So we probably got at least 30 coming based on yesterday's ticket sales.
Yeah.
So it's the Georgia Sunbelt, the Friday 3 p.m. train. What that is, that's the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway. That's the train that we run daily out of Jim Thorpe. It's a 70-minute round trip ride. It goes about 7 miles north to what's called Old Penn Haven. Basically what it does, it runs into Lehigh Gorge State Park. And so you're going to see the Lehigh River, The gorge, it's two, steep walled mountains that basically come down. You're really snaking through the mountains. There's a lot of very sharp curves. There's a waterfall. There's a suspension bridge that used to carry an old oil pipeline that goes over the tracks. It's a very beautiful ride. It's beautiful any time of the year. We cross the Lehigh River twice. It's all narrated. My only disappointment with it is I haven't seen a bear yet. Everybody talks about the bears in the woods. I have yet to see one. But we often see bald eagles on the ride, deers, porcupines. Someone saw an otter fairly recently. And there's a lot of history in the gorge. There's a lot of railroad and tourism history there. So it's a very relaxing ride. I mean, we're going to be into May. I highly recommend the open air cars. We have a lot of different kinds of car on the train these days, but you can't beat the open air cars. They're great for photography, fresh air. I think you get the best views other than the dome car because you can move about the open air cars pretty freely, go back and forth. There's stuff to see on both sides of the train.
Yeah, we'll see if we got Heath there with his 360 camera.
Yeah.
So we did that, and he actually holds it right above the train, so you can see the whole
nice.
train. So that was a good video he had of the Colorado train
wow.
there. So
that's something I need to get someday. I haven't done that yet. Do the
360 camera.
Yeah, that'd be neat because I'm always taking additional rides. Like, hey, I haven't gotten this angle yet, or that angle, or that one. That'd just be an easy way to get them all at once and be done with it.
Yeah, but I think like when you're watching the videos, then you're panning around all the time, so you're still missing everything, right? So
that's why I've ridden it about 500 times.
Yeah. So Georgia Sunbelt, like he said, he's coming. Boxcar Jerry's coming. Got his tickets. Ron Montague. There was a couple more in there that kind of scrolled by, but sounds like we're gonna have a good turnout. More the merrier. Like I said, guys, get your tickets right away. This is not just exclusive to the YouTube meet and greet. This is open to everybody from their website, and they've got a Facebook page too. So when the information gets out there, these tickets are going to go fast. Just came out yesterday, so.
And they've been advertising very heavily on social media, particularly the last calendar year, and that really has boosted sales considerably. We had in 2022, we had total ridership of about 250,000 passengers. We got the tally for 2023. We had 322,000 passengers last year. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if we push towards 400,000 this year.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of awareness of the railroad. It's growing in popularity, and they, anytime they do post something on social media, people, pretty much flock to buy the tickets. Nathan, yes, I do. I do have my own channel. It's just my name, Jamie Makin.
See, and I do this with a lot of people's names. I put an L in there. So I always call you Melkin.
Sorry, I've been called worse.
I do it with a couple of other people that watch my live stream all the time too. And I'll say their name and the L comes out there, and there's not an L in their name, but
there's no L, but that's okay.
Yeah, but everybody says the same thing. It's all right.
Georgia Sunbelt brings up a really good point here. Are tickets sold online for the Jim Thorpe train? Yes, they are. However, they're not sold the day of the rides. You have to buy them at least the day prior. But right now we have the entire year for sale except fall foliage. That's the only time of year that we do not sell tickets online. You have to buy them in person. And I also highly recommend, depending what kind of ride you want to do and what day of the week, I've really strongly recommended, especially in the last 6 months or so, buy your tickets in advance for the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway, particularly if you're riding on the weekend, and any day if you're riding in the dome car, or dome cars. We're running 3 of them lately. Sellouts are becoming more and more and more common. Will a 3 o'clock Friday train sell out? Probably not, but if you're traveling any distance for this trip, better safe than sorry.
Can you get those tickets the same place that we're getting the tickets for the Minersville?
Sort of. The Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway does have its own website. It's www.lgsry.com. All of our websites do link to all of our other websites, but they do have that one broken out. Yeah, Sparky, could you put the link to that there? I don't know if it'll let me post it. I'm not a blue wrench, but you get a lot of blue wrenches.
I try to make everybody a blue wrench for the simple reason that, like, if somebody new comes in, all you got to do then is click on their name to go to their channel.
Ah, gotcha. I'll just see. Let me just see for kicks if it'll let me post the link here.
Well, if you say something in the chat, I can always make you a mod real quick. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it posted. So that's where you would buy your Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway tickets. It's the same kind of ticketing system. What you do with all of those tickets, you'll get emailed an invoice. That invoice is, as the name implies, just an invoice. It won't get you on the train. When you show up in Reading to ride to Minersville, or when you show up to Jim Thorpe to ride the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway, you need to take that invoice to the ticket booth, and they
Jamie,
will
just put hi in the chat first.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Because I'm gonna have to make you a mod first because it's not it blocks me. So.
Oh, okay. I guess it just showed up on my screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Now you should be able to post it up there.
Yeah, okay. Let's give it a try.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to pop up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I know what happened.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
There it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can buy your tickets there. And then when you show up in Jim Thorpe, you just take that invoice. You could either show them your phone with the barcode or invoice number, or you could print it out. It doesn't matter. You just have to take that to the ticket booth. They'll put that in the system, and they'll actually print your paper tickets for you. And in fact, I could show you an example right here. Our souvenir tickets are quite nice. I've got about 50 million of them, but you know, you'll actually have a nice ticket for a souvenir of the trip. These are 3 of probably about 5 million, but
that's cool.
Yes. Well, one of the best things about working for the railroad is free train rides.
Yeah, for sure.
It's probably the coolest job perk I've ever had.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely buy them in advance. I highly encourage it. Our trips are popular. They do sell out. And if for some reason, this is something a lot of people don't know as well, if something happens, if you buy a ticket and you can't make it, unfortunately, we don't do refunds. However, that ticket never expires. It retains its cash value, and you can exchange that for any trip, anytime. I mean, we literally last year had somebody exchange a 20-year-old ticket, and we still honored that.
Nice.
So these things, whatever you paid for them in cash, hold on to that ticket, or at least the invoice number. If you didn't get the printed ticket, they never, ever, ever expire. It's not like an airline. There's no fee to exchange them. There's no expiration date on them. You know.
That's really cool information.
Yeah. The only thing we don't do is refunds, unfortunately. But so, you know, that's what people, if they're hesitant about buying ahead of time, I tell people not to worry. It'll always be good for another day. You do have to actually do the exchange process, but there's no cost to do that.
Okay, so one last question we got in there is, do you sometimes get free cab rides?
Yes, I do. And I've had quite a few.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
again, follow her channel, Nathan, and you'll probably see a few of them. So
yeah.
I know I've seen you in the GP38, I think it was.
Yeah, most of the times I've been in the GP38-2. I got one ride, and actually I had to pay for this ride. It was before I got hired. I got to ride in an SD40-2. I've gotten a ride in the F units. That's something we never sell F unit tickets to the public. Once in a blue moon, they might make an exception, but that was a perk. I got to ride in the F units. And I've also gotten a ride, you know, let's just say on some routes that normally there wouldn't even be cab rides available. So it's a nice perk too. Obviously, if there's a paying passenger who wants that seat, I'm going to get bumped, but that's okay. You know,
for sure.
I'm cool with that.
That comes part of the job for sure. So
yeah, they've been The railroad has been unbelievably generous to me, so no complaints at all.
Well,
It's
I think you got
literally
the
been
dream
the
job, that's for
I
sure. So
do, I do. You always hear other people land in their dream jobs, and you think, ah, it'll never happen to me, and I gotta tell you, it finally has. It's incredible.
awesome. Mini Prince likes the GP38 too, and that's my favorite locomotive itself is
Yeah,
the GP38. So
that's my favorite. That's primarily what we use for passenger service. From what the engineers have told me, they operate more smoothly than the SD40-2s. They do like the SD40-2s for freight. I have not yet ridden in an SD50-2. That's on my bucket list. I have ridden in a GP39RN, which is essentially a GP30. In fact, I did that from Minersville to Schuylkill Haven on last year's Easter trips. What else have I ridden in? Well, I have gotten a steam engine cab ride, but that was a different railroad. That had nothing to do with it.
yeah.
So
Well, I've been in a couple steam locomotives, and it's kind of hard to explain it. It's hot, but yet it's cold.
it is. It
So
really is.
you would think you would be boiling hot in the cab of a steam locomotive, but unless you're close to the the firebox itself, it's a pretty cold spot actually. So,
Yeah, it can be.
but okay, Jamie, I got to say thank you very much for all the information that you've given me, and then coming on live tonight and letting everybody else know about this fabulous ride that we're going to all take part in. And I just appreciate you taking the time to do that. I know you're busy with the
Yeah.
railroad and stuff like that. And every time I try to talk to you, it's like I'm working. I know. So,
Yeah, I've been doing a lot behind the scenes that people haven't seen yet. Say yet. There's stuff coming, but
yeah. So,
yeah, yeah, today unfortunately wasn't working. Today was sitting in the repair shop with the truck, but
yeah.
you gotta handle those things sometimes too. But if you want to keep chasing the trains, you do at least.
Yeah. So, to follow you on YouTube, your name is right there in the stream.
Yep,
That's what your YouTube name is.
yep.
So, anybody want to check out the channel? That's all you got to do. Type in her name in the search engine box there, and bam, I'm sure you'll see her. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Thank you for having me on, and really glad this finally came together. I mean, you were sweating, and I was sweating for you.
I know you were.
This should have, in my opinion, should have been resolved a while ago. But like I said, it's a lot of different organizations coming together to put this on. So it's not a straightforward matter of Reading and Northern just saying we're doing this on this day, done. Most of our rides are planned that way. Mostly we're just competing with our own activities. This had, other organizations and a lot more involved in putting this together. So,
Yeah, and there was quite a few talks I had with Josh too, and like I said, it was always, oh, we're gonna do this. We can try to get this done, and we'll try this, and then it was like, no, we can't do that. It's like, what?
yeah.
How do you not know? Like, but uh, from
Yeah,
talking to both of you, yeah, I kind of see
yeah.
and understand the behind the scenes part of it. So,
Yeah. I mean, it was, I know you had originally talked to him about the charter ride,
yeah,
and it was just unluck that it happened to fall on this day. This was a day that the May 18th, we had no control over because it was all being driven by Minersville Community Day. And when that organization decided to do that, that's what spurred our activities. So you could kind of say it was bad luck and that you couldn't do your charter trip that day, but it also ended up being good luck
yeah,
in that this happened to fall on the day you were already planning to come.
yeah.
So
I think it turned out a lot better. So,
yeah, I think you're really going to enjoy this. I'm looking forward. I wish I was going to be on the RDCs with you guys, but I had already promised to help the Project 113 group before that was even, at the time I got involved with it, it was just going to be 113 running to the breaker. The Reading to Minersville came after the fact. So,
oh, that's cool.
uh, but I will definitely see you guys when you get to Minersville. Like I said, I might be helping doing a little shoveling, hopefully to get you guys to the breaker and back. From what I understand, it's a pretty steep grade getting to the breaker, but then pretty easy trip back down to Minersville. And I'd love to go to the museum with you guys on Sunday. That's a fantastic museum. You're going to love it. I can't wait to go back. As for Friday, I might be working on the Gorge train, or, I might be joining you for a ride, or I might be doing, I do other work outside of the railroad. So
Very cool.
I'll have to decide that one closer to the time. But, definitely looking forward to seeing you guys. A lot of you I've seen before. A lot of you I'll be meeting for the first time. But I mean, Sparky, I'm thrilled that you picked our railroad to come to. I really am. There were probably hundreds of choices you could have had,
Mhm.
and
And
I'm thrilled that you
Pennsylvania is
decided
full
to
of
come here.
railroad. Yeah, Pennsylvania is full of railroad history and trains and all kinds of stuff that you can get into. But the Reading and because of knowing you, I think, and JP and RJ and stuff like that, I
Yeah,
kind of leaned more towards that. Once you got a job there, it was like, you know what? It's got to be a great place. So
yeah, yeah. It really is. I mean, one of the reasons I love the railroad in the first place is it's a very rail fan friendly railroad. Um, we primarily do trips for the general public, but they do stuff like this also geared towards rail fans. They're very generous in allowing rail fans to film their trains. Some railroads are not so cool about that. Like I said, it'll be a little unusual that you can't rail fan on breaker property, but that's not the railroad doing that. That's the breaker, and that's totally within their rights. I
yeah,
understand. But it's a very friendly railroad. I've been, just as happy working inside of it as I was rail fanning outside of it before I joined. And, I hope you guys all get to experience that. That's what we're known for. And can't wait for you to experience it.
only a couple months away. So
Yeah, it still feels like winter here, but yeah, it's gonna go fast. I mean, we're
we're actually
only
getting a
2
snowstorm. So
months. We're supposed to get about 2 to 3 inches of rain tomorrow.
now rain's better than the
And
snow.
yeah, in fact, I was actually going to go check out a new to me railroad for the first time with a couple friends tomorrow. And, unfortunately today we made the decision to not go just because of the weather. I mean, I'm not against rail fanning in the rain. You've seen some of my videos. I've been out literally in hurricanes, but, this is nothing that you can't do any day of the week. There's nothing special about tomorrow. So we just decided we'll try again on a day that's, little bit friendlier with the weather.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I don't know. I remember just as a kid's story, 2, 3 feet of snow before you didn't go outside, and now you hear it on the radio. Oh, we're getting 15 centimeters, and everybody's like, "Gone." Like, what are you
Yeah,
doing? Like, this is nothing. So
yeah. Well, even in Pennsylvania, we'll get a 2 to 3 inch snowstorm, say late November, and everybody loses their mind and
yeah,
close everything, stay off the roads, big panic, and then you'll get, over the winter you'll get 8 inches and 12 inches and four on top of the 12, and then 20 the next weekend, and then the next time after that you get 3 inches in isolation. Everyone was like, it was easy.
yeah, I know, right? So
And then over the summer, everybody forgets how that worked, and we start it again next
yeah.
winter.
And if you didn't like this weather, move to Florida. So
Yeah. Well, as we say here, and you'll see in some of my upcoming videos, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, it'll change.
yeah, and that's the truth. But it's the same in Florida too. They just get wind.
That's true.
We get the
That's
snow, they get the
true.
wind and the rain.
That's
So
true. Well, and you can pretty much time their thunderstorms in the afternoon like clockwork.
oh, I know. Amy went down there to go to Disney World, and she said every night
Yep.
it would be a thunderstorm, downpour, torrential, and then it would clear right up, and they'd have the fireworks.
Yep.
You're like,
Yep.
okay, whatever.
It's the
So
weirdest thing, but yeah, that's particularly. I've been to Central Florida a lot. It's always like that there.
I'll get there someday. I think there's a couple model railroaders down there too. So
Yeah, I think so. And hey, you got the high speed bright line now, and we
yeah,
got Danny back. Danny's back. Yeah, I've never been on. It's funny. I'm so into vintage trains and all that. I've never been. Even I've never even ridden Amtrak behind a modern day Genesis or Charger. So one of these days I got to get out on the main line and see what the present day looks like. But
yeah,
and that's another thing you ask people, for people who are not in this area, asking themselves why should they buy a ticket? Why should they come to this? Reading and Northern maintains and runs a very diverse collection of vintage equipment. There's nothing new, but it all, most of it looks and runs like new. What doesn't look and run like new, we're in the process of restoring. Nothing's a replica. In fact, that's a commonly asked
Nice.
question. We'll have tourists come on the Lehigh Gorge train and they'll ask me, is this a replica? It's not a replica, it's the real deal.
That's pretty cool.
So a lot of history in the area, a lot of history just in our rolling stock and our motive power.
Yeah. That's what I do like about Pennsylvania. Like a lot of people, a lot of my meet and greets are in Pennsylvania, obviously. And then, of course, I do get in shit from some people. It's like, well, why can't you do it here? Why can't you do it there? And it's like
Yeah.
the history that it is just in Pennsylvania alone.
Yeah.
The mountains, the tunnels, the bridges, the history, the steam locomotives that are still preserved to modern day diesel.
Yep.
It's just amazing. So, and there's
And-
tons
and-
of it. There's tons of
Yeah.
it. It's not that far for me. So,
And you know what? Even when you live here, there's still, I have a list that's incredibly long of, it seems like every time I add one new thing to my list that I want to explore railroad wise here and I check it off the list, 2 or 3 more take its place. There's just, I was just actually talking to somebody. I hit up one spot to catch a Norfolk Southern freight train on the way home from the passenger meeting last night. And just standing there were 2 other rail fans there in the middle of the night. I mean, that's the other thing too. Rail fanning is like the national sport here. Just standing there for a couple minutes waiting for the train, I learned of something really cool right up the road from a crossing I visit a lot. I learned something really cool that I need to go explore that I had no idea was there for the LNE railroad. So, the more I look, the more I find here, and you could probably do meet and greets till the end of time here, and still be finding new things to do with it.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Jamie, I'm going to cut it right there.
All
We've
right.
given a ton of information to people. Like I said, I got to thank you very much for coming on, giving out all the information, and I appreciate it a lot. I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody else does too. And I can't wait to see you there.
All right, sounds great. It's my pleasure. Very glad I can help you out with this, and we'll continue to talk behind the scenes about some of the other details too.
Oh, I'm just a text away. So,
All right, sounds good.
all right, everybody. Thanks very much for joining in.
Okay.
And I'm sure Jamie's pretty hungry by now. She gets home and haven't
That's
given her
probably
any
why
time to
the
eat yet.
cats are circling around. I'm going to become dinner if I don't hand some dinner out.
There you go. So, all right. Thanks everybody
All
for
right.
joining. Like I said, go get your
Yeah,
tickets. It's
yeah.
from Reading. Yeah, Nathan just threw up the link there. So Reading
Thank you,
Outer
Nathan.
Station. And it's the round trip that you want. So we'll be back by 5. And you want it with the shuttle service.
Yep.
And that'll take you down to the coal breaker. So it's gonna be a good time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing the links, Nathan. And yeah, I look forward to seeing a whole bunch of you. I hope a lot of you will be able to make it out for this. I think you'll enjoy it.
Awesome. All right. Bye for now, guys.
All right. See you guys. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right. You're welcome.
Bye, everybody. Bye.